This video is sponsored by Audible, and I'm so happy to be sponsored because I can finally talk about Warhammer books. You know Audible, I know Audible, the wonderful place to see thousands of different kinds of audiobooks, and today I have two fantastic recommendations for you. As a big Warhammer fan and also someone who's getting a lot of people into the hobby lately, I constantly get asked what are some fantastic audiobooks to listen to if I want to know more about Warhammer lore. So this time around, I would highly recommend giving a look at Gaunt's Ghosts. The story of Commissar Ibram Gaunt and the 10th First and Only, a guardsman regiment that immediately following their recruitment had their planet absolutely destroyed. It's a brother-in-arms tale as old as time. And if you're looking for something a little bit more holy, you can check out Our Martyr Lady, a fantastic audiobook following Celestine, Inquisitor Greyfax, some Black Templars and Custodians on a kind of like detective investigation mission. So if you would like to give these a listen, or perhaps are interested in some of the other thousands of audiobooks, please go ahead and check out audible.com/Bricky or text Bricky to 500-500, or, the URL's in the description. Thank you to Audible for sponsoring this video, and let us talk about Apex. Hello everybody, my name is Bricky, currently running from the law for shouting a racial slur at the guy who took the shield I called dibs on, and Apex Legends, it's celebrating its 2-year anniversary! God, I feel elderly. But between arthritis and hip problems, I've noticed a cool little effect I'm gonna call the Accept Apex effect, where whenever you discuss things like popular games on Twitch or the Battle Royale genre in general, you always hear the words, well, except Apex. God, I really hate Battle Royale games. Well, except Apex. Battle Royales have just insanely clunky gameplay. Well, except Apex. The characters just don't have any kind of personality or intrigue. Well, except for, Apex. Overwatch porn is just getting really boring to me, and there's nothing else as good out there. As someone who is very tired of the competition, I made a whole video on Apex way back when it came out, and I was talking it up massively, how the awesome changes to gameplay, the way the ping system works, how all the gear works, and just how that Apex game, that new Battle Royale in the market, was going to shape up the entire industry, and then I promptly dropped it for months to a year. The Battle Pass that came out was subpar, the game was becoming stale, and there was simply not enough intrigue to keep me interested in Apex. I came back for a little bit in Season 5 when they added Loba. A lot of people came when they added Loba, but it wasn't enough to keep me sticking around. So Season 8 is here, Fuse has come around, and overall there are so many new changes to the game between new maps, new weapons, new legends, the Evo shield change, the fabricators, how so many of the mechanics work. Apex is a completely different game than it originally was, while maintaining all the enjoyment that made it so special when it first came out to begin with. Considering how much I've grinded the Season 8 Battle Pass and the anniversary event they're currently having, I think I'm going to be sticking around for a lot longer now. So my job in this video is to create both a review and also kind of like a continuation for all of you people like me who dropped the game and you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe I'm a little bit interested in coming back. So this is both an Apex Legends review for 2021, as well as kind of, maybe not a retrospective, but a continuing of what has changed in the game for those of you who want to come back.
I'm down! Need a medic!
Now, the biggest change to Apex is obviously going to be the new legends, and we'll get to that. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but right now, I want to talk about more of the gear and fundamental stuff and more of those gameplay changes themselves. As a game, Apex is still the exact same, right? Drop ship, drop, kill, loot. Zone, last man standing. It is your typical Battle Royale fan fare. However, between all that kind of stuff, some things have been adjusted. For instance, they now have duos instead of just trios. And personally, I like duos a lot. They're a little bit clustery. However, if you only got one other guy, or sometimes if you're just running solo, duos is the better option because there's a lot less of that third-party aggravation. And overall, while there's just murder going on everywhere, it never has a dull moment, and it is quite fun. Trios might be the, more superior game mode, but duos are still pretty dang enjoyable. Weapon-wise, a few things were added. Titanfall fans will recognize the Volt, and yes, it absolutely bones. You may also recognize the charge rifle. It's been made as a sniper in this game, and it has like a little bit of a slight damage during that charge up, a little bit of chip damage before the actual big shot comes out, which I really like because I can pretend like I'm actually doing damage even though I missed all my major shots. The L-Star, it's made its way in here too. Kinda sucks. just like in Titanfall. They have a new sniper as well. It's kind of like a combination between the longbow and the Kraber, where it's a bolt action, but you can actually use some shield cells to charge it up and make it more powerful, which is kind of neat. There's the 30-30 repeater for you lever action lovers out there. And they've also changed up some of the weapons like care package style. For instance, the Prowler SMG is now only available in care packages that spawn on the map, as well as the Peacekeeper shotgun, which I am totally fine with because the Peacekeeper was always kind of a menace. And now that I can use the Mastiff normally, I mean the Mastiff, look at it. Look at that junk in that trunk. Just give me that like, whoosh. They buffed the Mozambique. Still sucks. And the Kraber is still really chunky. I could probably spend like an hour talking about the weapon changes, how snipers have their own ammo now, how energy ammo is a lot more important now, the way the turbocharger works, the skull piercer upgrade, the sheer amount of nerfs to the wingman. But overall, I want to talk about two major things: the Evo shields and the fabricators. Now, about season 4-ish, they added the Evo shield, and that, like shields in Apex, works on like a 25 bracket chart, where a white shield gives you 50 health, because 2 brackets 25, blue 75, and purple an extra 100, giving you effectively 200 HP. Now, an Evo shield at the time was only 1, so it's technically worse than a white shield, but the way it would work is that the more damage you did, that shield would increase in capacity. So it was a high risk, high reward kind of shield, because you statistically had less than most of your enemies, but if you were really good at the game, you could actually make it to the exact same or even better, because the Evo shield is the only shield that can reach the red shield rank, giving you an extra 25 to give you a full 225 HP. Now, every shield is an Evo shield. You can still pick up blue shields, purple shields like you could before, but now every single shield is an Evo shield. I love this change because it reduces RNG, which is good because battle royales have always had that problem. But there's the other problem where how do you encourage gunfighting? Unlike a game like PUBG where I'm sitting there in the middle of a corner with a shotgun and a baby bottle, in Apex, I am now being actively, consistently rewarded for my aggression. Go out there and murder some folk. Sure, you could still drop immediately, grab a purple shield because you're lucky and have a higher advantage, but as the game goes, you're not going to be in that situation where you're just so freaking unlucky that you end in final circle against a full decked out team with only a blue shield. If you're not hiding, which you shouldn't be in Apex, you will be on the same playing field as everybody else. But if you do hide, if you do that thing where you hide in a corner and you play like a bitch all the way to the final circle, well, unless you had good RNG, guess what? You're not going to be at an advantage because you didn't go out there and fight. It's not too hard to level up your shields in the lower tiers with the whites and the blues and stuff. But if you want that red shield, you need to do a lot of damage, okay? If you had a white and you were going straight all the way to a red, you would need to do the equivalent of 1,300 damage to non-downed enemies. So you would need to kill the equivalent of 6 separate full purple shielded people by yourself, and you'd still have 100 more to do before you get that red shield. I no longer look at someone with like a red shield as someone who just had good RNG. When I fire at somebody and I see red digits start popping up, my asshole just does an immediate pucker because I'm thinking, oh shit. I'm about to have a hard time. Lastly, for changes, we got this thing called fabricators. Now, fabricators are all across the map, and they have a rotation of fancy-pantsy loot. And I think I like fabricators a lot because they also help with that same RNG element that I mentioned before. If you want to get fabricator materials, which are these things in the top right corner of your screen, you either get 5 for opening up each of those pill bottle type, crates, or you can find some next to the fabricators themselves in 3 separate big containers that contain 25 each. And these can actually give you many things that can help you with that RNG factor of the game. However, they do take time to build and you are vulnerable while you're typing on the thing. The fabricator lowers RNG but still has decent risk. If you want to level up your shield like that, guess what? You don't get the shield during the level up time. So you better hope you're not going to get shot in that time you're waiting. There's risk and reward. I would say it's more reward than risk, but that's kind of fine because you don't get everything in the game in a fabricator. It's always healing items, ammo, the shield, and then some weekly rotations or daily rotations. Not important, whatever. But now, gear's done. Now let's talk about those new legends and maps.
I am down, but alive.
So not only did they add a whole bunch of new legends, but they also added 2 more maps. Now, King's Canyon gets blown up like every single season, so I don't even want to talk about that one. But the World's Edge and Olympus maps are pretty cool. I think King's Canyon is still my favorite because I know it the best, but World's Edge is kind of neat. It has a big volcanic activity style deal with it, and it has a lot more pitfalls, but also some pretty insane buildings as well. And Olympus is the newest map that came out with season 7, I believe. And that's kind of like a luxurious, bougie-ass floating city in the sky kind of deal. It's actually really pretty. I love the color scheme. I love like all the flowers and the grass and the gardens and the kind of cookie cutter homes that go around with it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Ash mission in Titanfall 2, but a lot less dystopian and horrible. Legends though, that's the real treat. Probably going to talk about all the DLC Legends because I'd be really upset if I didn't do my boy Octane some justice. So speaking of, we got Octane, of course, high skill, high movement, just speed freak character who blew his own legs off to set a world record in the Titanfall 2 Gauntlet, which is just the most hilarious thing ever. He's a great solo character, and I don't think I've ever had a bad time playing as Octane. Fortunately, the Octane name right now I think is being a little bit muddled because back in the day, all the TTV annoying people were playing Wraith. They're starting to gravitate towards Octane, which is not fair. Keep my boy's name solid. But even so, you may not win every single game because he's not a very team-oriented kind of character, but I'll always have a good time, win or loss with him, and he's just an absolutely fantastic addition to the game. Wattson is Pledge to Protect. She is fucking adorable, okay? She's cute, she's got fun voice lines, her French accent is adorable, her backstory is sad, yet still adorable, her relationship with other legends is absolutely adorable. I wish her gameplay was more fun though, because I know I play her more often. I play her almost never because she's a super campy legend. She's the yin to the yang of Octane. She is an insanely good hold one area legend, but that really is her entire strength. So if you're like a go hard, run in type of person, she may not be particularly great for you, but if you're the person who likes to hold an area, she's damn strong. Crypto. Normally I'd be annoyed with this kind of like super edgy guy, but he puts his hands in his pockets when he jumps from the ship, and that's kind of cool. Crypto isn't really my cup of tea. He's got a big drone, which is actually, when you think about it, really damn good. The ability to see where enemies are coming from, mark them for your teammates, and also do a big, really debilitating EMP ability. But every time you do that kind of stuff, you then have to snap back to reality, oops, there goes gravity, and then immediately have to run your way up to go deal with the people you just electrocuted because you've been controlling your drone the whole time. It's a little bit boring because you're always kind of in the back as you're moving your drone around and stuff, but I can see how powerful that information gathering can be, and hopefully crypto mains will appreciate it as well. Now this is edgy. Local robot so angry and just wants to die. Revenant probably has the award for coolest voice lines in the whole game. He's a blast to play just to hear him talk in general, and especially considering how he's just such a complete asshole to everyone on his team. He's really just a straightforward murder bot. Climb up walls faster to murder easier, silence enemies so they don't murder you, use your death totem so you can go murder people, and then when you get murdered, you can go back forward and murder again. It's just, I mean, I don't know if he's good or not, but that death totem feels really damn good. And honestly, he's just very straightforward and really good at his job at killing people. Revenant season was called Assimilation, and it makes sense because it puts the ass in creating Loba. Loba is a wolf in sheep's clothing. She's the femme fatale. If I was playing Titanfall, I use her hips to curve my Kraber bullets. Grandma doesn't make cake this good. Bowls of oatmeal are becoming self-conscious. I asked for a cake, not the whole goddamn bakery. Her ability to see high-level loot through walls is really handy, especially in the early game. Her positioning ring thing is decent. It bugs out half the time, but I think it would be better if it got a couple of bug fixes and was changed a little bit, but it's still, even so, it can be pretty damn useful. And the black market, I don't even know why it has a cooldown because that thing always seems up, but it allows you to steal a whole bunch of loot from the vicinity. So now you can pick Loba just to see her walk in the intro screen and actually say, no, helping out the team. If Mirage loves himself too much, Rampart loves high magazine LMGs way too much. Rampart is another defensive character, kind of like Wattson, who spends her entire time making quips about having gigantic murder machines like her minigun Sheila and a bunch of LMGs and just uses them to gun down people mercilessly. And, you know, like laughing maniacally while she does it. She really likes shooting people. Apparently she's not very good right now, which, I mean, if you told me that the legend with the AWOL, you know, like the Titanfall 2 AWOL is bad, I probably wouldn't believe you, but that's what people say. Horizon is a Scottish mom who I would absolutely like to tuck me into bed. Horizon is kind of awesome, both in her quips and also her kit is just really dang strong. She moves around in a spacesuit to allow her to move a lot easier and not take as much falling stun. She also has insanely good tactical with that giant gravity fling, which makes her impossible to shoot up in the air and gets you to basically anywhere you need to go. And she has a black hole, which, sucks people into the black hole, which in a game about positioning is really damn good. Horizon is insane. And I'm kind of happy that she's so good right now because I like Scottish Mom. I think it's cool having a character like that that's so good team oriented and also can be played solo and has such adorable quips with all of her fun, Scottish words I can barely understand. And her backstory is sad as fuck. And our newest legend is Fusey. A guy who's fantastic to have on your team for his voice lines alone. He's an Australian explosive expert. He's like if the 45-year-old Australian dad that still grills hot dogs almost every weekend stayed hip with the times. He's got an outback dad bod, a mustache that defies reality, and honestly, I like to see him just for that intro. He can throw grenades farther and have more of them. He's got like a cluster ball, reminds me of North Star, got a big old napalm circle. I really don't care about his abilities. I just want to listen to him talk, all right? He's mid-40s, Australian dad bod, got a hot dog cooking in the middle of the outback summer, popping a cold one, etc. He's the best. He's the really cool uncle. Out of all these boys, Mirage is still my king, all right? Because it doesn't matter how many of these TTV, 50,000 kills, 4 million damage done Wraith mains I see, gotta take a class how to breathe through their nose, because they will never understand the cock-throbbing ecstasy that is watching someone fire at 4 of your bamboozles and then lasering them in the back with a Mastiff. But besides that, the other characters I really like. Octane is an absolute blast. Revenant's actually pretty dang fun as well. And I'm still getting used to Fuse a bit, but both him and Loba are actually pretty dang enjoyable, and I'm having a damn good time with them. These are some damn good legends, and I truly do hope they keep that quality going up. But really, all this new stuff doesn't mean jack unless it plays well, right? Well, luckily for you, it absolutely does.
No good. I've been downed.
Apex still doesn't really have a skill ceiling, more like a skill stratosphere, and the difference between a casual player and a wingman god can be felt pretty roughly. But even so, I feel like they've taken a lot of steps to lower that discrepancy between the different players through uses of in-game changes as opposed to mechanics. That makes no sense. Let me explain. A lot of the things that involve RNG in the game has seemed to be toned down a decent amount. The Evo shield is a big one because now they can get you that giant shield that you were hoping for just by being good at the game. While there still are things like death boxes and loot you can go ahead and grab, I've noticed that when it comes down to weapon balancing as well as some of the other factors like the fabricators, it's a lot less of a skill disparity between the god players and the lower tier players. The wingman has been nerfed multiple times, and while it's still an insanely good weapon, it is not that absolute monster it used to be. The Peacekeeper is now a care package item, which is so much better to me because that thing would basically two-shot you if you know what you were doing, and it really wasn't hard to know what you were doing. The Peacekeeper should have been a lot harder to use for how much damage it could do. Fabricators are the same deal. It allowed me to help myself a lot more depending on the kind of gear that I'm missing and could probably therefore find a way to build the thing I need. I'm not one for lowering a game's skill ceiling at all, but the thing is that Apex's fundamental gameplay mechanics are already such an insane skill ceiling in their own right. In Apex, 90% of the game involves around movement, aiming, and positioning. If you can outflank an enemy properly, you will win with worse weapons and worse shields every time. And because of that, does the wingman really need to two-tap? Does the Peacekeeper really need to be that strong and that prevalent? Does Wraith really need to be as strong as she is? I say no. Someone can still roll up to you and headshot your ass with an R99 like crazy or like a wingman and stuff, but at least now I feel like I'm not getting insta-gived and I at least have some time to attempt to retaliate. Lessening the aggravation, I'd say, is a pretty important thing. And hey, I'm not great at Apex. I'm very aware of this, especially in Season 8. I'm really learning the game again, and it's taken some time. But even so, when I lose, I barely think to myself, oh my god, that wingman is so broken. Oh my god, that legend is so broken. I mean, maybe the Wraith might annoy me, sure, but 90% of the time, I'm getting crushed because the team that fight me are just simply better than me. And even so, if I'm just a casual player, the characters are enough to keep me in the game. I could watch this shit for hours. When the voice actors keep on coming back to talk about the new weapons or to discuss things with each individual character to further the plot, to have actual lore in a battle royale game, to the point where Mozambique here has become a meme in its own right because of the fantastic ping system in this game, I don't care if I lose, because hopping in and watching Mirage make a fool of himself with crypto is enough for me to be satisfied in my game. So long as I got my lovable dumbass, a boat full of loot, and someone to shoot at, I'm happy.
I'm down. Pick me up.
Now, way back when, I said that Apex Legends was going to live or die based on how good its Battle Pass was. And when Season 1 came out and the Battle Pass did come out, it was extremely mediocre and I had absolutely no interest in working on it. Hence, one of the reasons why I left the game. Now, I kind of feel like an asshole. Well, I guess yes, the Battle Pass was mediocre. Apparently, the reason why a lot of the content that came out post-launch wasn't very good was because Apex and Respawn had a hard no-crunch policy when it came to their studio. So a lot of this stuff couldn't compete with the battle passes of other games because the people weren't crunching their ass off like they were doing with Epic and Fortnite, who are working insanely horrible hours. And so I kind of feel like a douche for being like, this battle pass was terrible and I'm not interested in playing the game, because in a sense, it was not great because the workers were sleeping normal hours. I guess it doesn't change the fact that I thought the pass and the cosmetics in it were kind of crap, but it does make me feel like an asshole. In Season 8 now, the pass is still a bit mediocre if I'm being honest, but when you do buy that battle pass and stuff and you work through it, you are kind of going for the end game and the early game of that pass. There are a couple fun emotes, skydiving emotes and things of that nature as you go along through it, but it is still filled with a lot of trackers and voice quips that you'll never ever use, and maybe some sprays or whatever those hollow sprays are. It makes them a little bit disappointing because it really doesn't have a lot of charm to it with the exception of some of those skins and those weapons at the end. But even so, it still does give me the thing to grind, and it does do a good job at the grind. There are lots of ways to keep you grinding it out between the weekly challenges that are actually a little bit harder to do and give you quite a bit, between the daily challenges that keep on resetting that are way easier to run as well. And then not only that, but you have constant new events added to the game as well. Right now we're in the anniversary event, and there's some pretty awesome stuff you can unlock in that anniversary event. The monetization of this game is not perfect, better than its competition at some parts, and worse at others. Apex still operates on a loot box system, a 3-piece loot box system. I don't like loot boxes. I don't think they should be in any game ever. However, these loot boxes are very transparent in what you're getting. They have all the percentages listed right there, and there are no duplicates of any kind. And when you start, normally would be getting duplicates, you get salvage and scrap, which you can then use to get other characters. One of the worst things about Apex in the beginning was the leveling and progression system, because you can only go up to level 100. And then after I think level 50, you only got one pack every 5 freaking levels. Now the level cap has been raised to 500, and you get one pack from levels 2 to 20, and then one every other level from 20 to 300. Which will give you a total of, I think, 199 packs in total, which is a hell of a lot better. The Battle Pass itself, the price is, as I expected, a pretty average price for it. Now, League of Legends does a lot of things wrong. However, I never gave League shit about their whole loot box system, like their Hex Tech crates or whatever, because everything you could buy in the game could be bought with just regular money and you wouldn't really care. If you want a new skin that comes out, $10, you're done. Done. I think if Apex adopted a similar strategy with its normal stuff, its regular old skins, I would be a little bit more forgiving for it. But unfortunately, there is still a lot of can only get via box stuff or via salvage, which comes in boxes. So it's not perfect. I appreciate the transparency, giving you exact percentage values and no duplicates, which is very, very nice. But it could use, I'd say, a little bit more work. I wish I could just kind of put my money out there and be fine with it. It's not perfect. I don't like loot boxes, but at least it's a hell of a lot better than some. If anything, I will praise the progress. It's a hell of a lot better than when the game shipped. I like its transparency, and overall, I will be happy that it's better than it was, even if it's not perfect.
This time I'm down.
So overall, where are we at? Well, Apex scratches my casual itch and just pounds my try-hard prostate. I can load in with friends, play an Australian dad, non-binary hunter, and Mexican speed freak and laugh and fight together. Maybe I'll lose and try again. Maybe I'll win and go again. Perhaps I'll share that victory with all my friends who didn't ask and don't care about it. Monetization isn't perfect, but I see this logo on the screen every time I load it up, so I really shouldn't be surprised. This game stands on its 2 feet almost entirely thanks to its smooth gunplay, which, and I don't want to be too mean to PUBG, but I cannot believe I stomached PUBG's clunky ass for so long after playing Apex Legends. I cannot believe it. But truly, the wealth of personality and the banter beneath the characters is the main reason I log in every day, besides anything else. The voice acting is stellar, the cast is well done, the story is even interesting, and all it does is make me want Titanfall 3 more. The only huge negative I have is the live service model. You know, in 10 years, I can load up Titanfall 2, fight Viper with Scorch for the 5,000th time, see if I win, see if I lose. I can still do that. Apex might not be here in 10 years. That's the problem with the live service model. And it would suck if all of those memories were just that, memories. But what are video games really, besides a short departure from the real world? You know, they're not like, what, art? Thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate it a ton. All of my big boy patrons are on the screen, soon to be followed by all the other patrons and memberships on the YouTube channels. Let's answer some questions. This is a good one. Do you believe that the Battle Royale craze is healthy for the current gaming scene? And do you believe that this type of game will kill classic deathmatch games? I'm quite sad that deathmatch games are going the way of the dodo. I really like my Call of Duty's, Battlefields, and Halos and such, and I do hope that the classic deathmatch will continue. However, I think the Battle Royale genre is mainly super popular thanks to Twitch. It's super high octane, very exciting, high risk, high reward. So I think so long as Twitch keeps the way it is, and it kind of has that style of gameplay that goes on the front page so easily, I think BRs are here to stay, at least until that kind of, lowers itself down a bit. If you could change one thing about Warhammer 40K, what would it be? The perpetual thing. I think the idea that someone literally never can die loses a lot of emotional and narrative weight. Vulcan's my favorite Primarch, but that part about him, hate it. Will you ever get into Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter Rise coming out? Nah, I don't really like Monster Hunter. It's not my kind of cup of tea. I have to have this conversation every time I bring it up on stream. It's not a bad game. It's a perfectly fine game. It's just not a game for me. All right, thanks so much for watching. I think my next video will be on COD Zombies and the complete lack of personality that Cold War has compared to the older games. It's a problem. Bye-bye.